I do remember them quite clearly. I used to work for a couple of YouTubers. One called P9, another one called Nilex, and a couple of other YouTubers in the space I used to work with.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion. No rap today, he's currently working, but we are here joined by our wonderful guest.
Hello, I'm Emil. Yeah, a world creator.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Emil. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah.
I remember when I first met you a little while ago, you're showing
Mm.
off some of your worlds, and now you've grown a lot since I last talked to you. But let people know, what are you
Yeah.
most known for? How'd you get started, and what got you into Vrchat?
Well, first of all, what got me into Vrchat was basically I started playing Vrchat back in 2017, and just needed a place to basically just have friends. So I joined Vrchat, and yeah, found it very comfortable. So I then started going to school and all, and had some spare time really to basically work on. So I opened up the Blender and started working on it. And then after a while, I published my first world in 2021, I think it was, around there, yeah. And worked on it for quite a long time. And now I work with the virtual gauntlet and Verillium and a bunch of other creators.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you first joined VRChat, what initially caused you to want to make worlds and work in Blender and Unity? And what were some of the first creations you were working on at the time?
The first creations was that I really liked the creative aspect of basically creating my own stuff.
Hmm.
So I thought, okay, I've been working on different games and all that. So I gave it a chance to work on some stuff.
Oh,
And yeah.
okay. Did you have prior experience with Unity and Blender, or was VRChat the first time you've ever
Now,
touched it?
the first time I ever touched it was, yeah, in Gauntlet.
Wow.
hmm And a lot of people, whenever I say that I do Blender, they always start the conversation saying that, hey, have you done the donut tutorial? And because I had the creative mindset of what I basically had, I basically never did it.
Ah.
Because I've always told myself that if I could basically do it without no like sketches, I was gonna be better off. Like basically the learning curve got bigger and bigger.
Oh, wow. So how long did it take you to learn Blender and Unity and stuff, may I ask?
Mm, so I started having a Blender from 8 years ago, but when I first started making my own worlds in YA was 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you this question. What were some of your first days in VRChat like? And what were some of the events that led up to you picking up Blender and Unity?
The first ever experiences I had they were interesting because it was from now till back then, there was a lot of things changed. Like there was the cat parade, the knuckles. It was just a way different experience of handling the different environments.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were into the memes and stuff at that time.
Mm, kind of, yeah, I was, but a lot of people were. But as I grew older, I basically learned to step away from like the memes and all that, and start working on making experience for the whole community of VRchat. One thing I still stand by to this day is basically making environments for people to enjoy, even teaching brand new people that have never touched Blender or Unity to basically learn it. Because I see potential in so many people's creativity, but I also see a lot holding back on it. And I really want to see them shine.
Wow. That's actually very awesome of you to do and help people like that. I've noticed that is a growing sentiment nowadays. I remember hearing from some people who built things from back in 2017 in that era. People, from my understanding, tended to hoard knowledge, not share it. If I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly.
Because knowledge back then were harder to gain rather than just like opening up to the publics and actually having them enjoy the knowledge that you had.
Okay. So another question I have for you is how did your view of VRChat change while you built worlds and learned the game engine? Were you able to enjoy it the same, or did it change as you gained more skill?
Hmm. Well, certainly things have changed in the engine itself, but I've always just stuck with it because I've never really believed in the other people's way of saying that, oh, this is weird. I've always just stuck with it.
Okay.
Okay.
So what has made you stay in VRChat this long then?
I think it's mainly because of the good bondings that is the community in the game. They're really supportive of what creators does, and that's kind of the way why I stick with it. Because I remember a lot of people switched over to different game engines and here and there, but I always kind of just stuck with it because they were just like the special bond in the game that you couldn't find anywhere else.
I can very much understand that being a good reason for you to stay in VRChat. So I'm going to ask you Raptor's question, and this is about the time he would
Yeah,
chime in. What is the weirdest thing you've seen in VRChat?
the latest thing. Ooh,
Weirdest.
well, weirdest. Mm, that's difficult because there are a lot of weird stuff, but I think the newest thing that I basically saw was in a Just Be Club where I was talking to another game developer, and one guy came up to us asking, "Hey, do you want to see a giant snake, right?" So he's like, "Sure." And then he just poofed up to like gargantuan size and just slithered away. And I'm like, okay then.
Oh, I can see why that would be weird. So, from what you've mentioned so far, you've built worlds, you are working with a virtual gauntlet with Code and I, and also Verillium. What kinds of things are you building or working with those groups, and how are they different from other projects you've worked on your own?
Well, it was mainly the community behind it because I've worked with a lot of creators back then. Some nicer, some weird. But the one that stands out from them was they were really supportive about what I did. And that really gave me a chance to actually shine. So I worked on Arcadia with them. That was really fun. And I also worked on giving them some assets to work around with. Some of them we're actually sitting on right now. And I'm also working on some undisclosed ones at the moment. I sadly can't say what it is, but it is should come shortly. Those are also some custom things I'm gonna make for them to enjoy.
Oh, wow. So is making those assets and working with those people, both Verillium and Arcadia and the Gauntlet, uh, where is this experience different from you making worlds on your own and like the working with a team and building something outside what you're used to?
Well, the thing about working alone is that you have a lot more free room to basically saying, "Oh, I want to do this," right? I don't have I can say whatever I kind of want in, oh, this has to be placed there. This has to go this way or that. But when I work with teams, they kind of want more specific ones. And that's kind of nearly the case most of the time. Um, because they want something more specific to basically stick with what the theme they're going. And I get that
Mm.
because you kind of want it in a similar theme. That's one of the difference between working on my own projects, because when I work on my own projects, I basically have as much time as I want. But when I work on projects like Verillium and all the other ones, there is a crunch time that has to be met,
Mm.
where there's a shorter span of time.
Okay. So with Arcadia, because I do remember seeing the event, I think the first
Yeah.
event you worked with them. What was it like seeing the stuff you've built put into that event and going around and seeing people
It
enjoy it?
it was exciting, really. It was really amazing. I even I still had a screenshot of one of people just sitting in my own furniture and actually just relaxing in it. That made me absolutely excited, because seeing people actually use the things that you worked hard on actually making, it was just butterflies in the stomach, really. It was amazing.
Oh, did did the experience of seeing that and working with them change how you work at all or view your own work for that matter?
Well, the good thing is now that working with them actually made me like have a wider audience of people basically looking at the different things and actually giving me feedback, because back then I didn't really have a lot of feedback. Like I hear every now and then a couple of friends that like looked at it, but having a bigger audience of it was really just amazing.
Hmm. Okay. Now, do you plan on continue to work with Arcadia and the other groups you're doing that with now?
100% yes,
Hmm.
I do, because it was such a nice experience.
Okay.
And also for all the ones who see Arcadia and everything, Goldie and Verillium make some amazing stuff. Like generally, from the bottom of my heart, he is an amazing guy.
Hmm. Okay. So, of everything you've done so far since you've come into VRChat, what is some of the stuff you're most proud of that you've made or worked on?
The most proud I've worked on is definitely worked on Arcadia, and my homeworld there is called the B Department. That is some of the most proudest things that I have, because I've sunk so much time into them and trying to take all the fact that I've gained from all the players coming into the world.
Hmm. I can understand that. So, during those things you're most proud of, were there any moments that provide some trouble or were a little hard to get through, and how did you get through it?
Well, yes, there were a couple of things, especially with the coding side, because I'm not the greatest coder. I normally just make the environments and all that. I think, yeah, the coding was definitely the harder parts, but I did gain some information on how I could basically rework it, and I did, and managed to do it. It did take a, quite a long time, but I did manage.
Hmm. Okay. So when you're working on a project, like for example, the furniture in this world we're in right now, what is your process like from ground up when you work on stuff? What kind of tools do you use? How do you come up with the themes? Do you create things with a purpose, or are they all willy-nilly and off the dome?
Well, some of them are just me fiddling around with the ideas of an environment, but sometimes I also like doing gray boxing because it gives it like, okay, I have these things, I have some blocks in every now and then I was like, okay, now I can make furniture or I can make some coffee tables or like that. And sometimes I also use something called Pro Builder. Some do not like it, some like it. It's a very unique tool for very new beginners to the space of making worlds. But when you go into a larger building scale, it does become a bit troubling.
Hmm. Okay. So with a lot of these tools you're using now, did you start off with them, or were they like suggestions you found over time as you needed them? How did you build your toolbox, one would say?
Well, I had a lot of people from the different games I used to work on. They basically showed me them, and I just branded on looking through the documentary of how they were basically working, and then I started using them
Hmm.
because there was no really right path of where to find them at all. You just had to know, oh, this is a tool you can use. Here it is.
Hmm. Okay. So you said something that's kind of interested me a little bit. You said working on games. What games did you work on, may I ask?
I worked on a game called Unturned for a very long time. I actually went in there not that long ago, just say hey to them, and the whole group itself just filled up with a bunch of creators that I used to work with, and it was really nice. But the main issue why I kind of left it was because it was not too good of an environment, but it was still pretty good for what it was.
Hmm. Okay. So may I ask, what is Unturned, and what are some things you've worked on in Unturned, may I ask?
Oof, I've worked on a lot of servers when it came to Unturned. So Unturned is a game that is made of the Unreal Engine, and it was basically meant as a Roblox game, but then the main developer, Nelson Sexton, switched over to Unity and then started working from there on. And now it's a pretty popular game. It's basically a simple survivor game in the Roblox style.
Okay. So with Unturned and that whole project you've worked on, how was the working on it different from what you're doing now, may I ask?
Yes, a lot of things has changed because it was a different layout.
Hmm.
Because in Unturned, you had to basically look through all the files, find that, and then like there was a lot of numbers.
Hmm.
For the majority of people, it was very hard coding for the game, especially because the main developer switched it up quite quickly with how it was layered with
Hmm.
the different things. So it was very hard to code for it. It was not impossible, but it was definitely
Oh,
hard.
okay. So, what were some of the things you're proud of and within that project particularly? And is that something you look back to fondly, or is it something you just kind of acknowledge?
I do remember them quite clearly. I used to work for a couple of YouTubers. One called P9, another one called Nilex, and a couple of other YouTubers in the space I used to work with. And it was great working on the things, but when some of them were unresponsive of saying, "Hey, I have the sites in. Um, can you put it in the game?" It was taking quite a bit of time for getting it put in, but I also get why, because it was also kind of a hassle to put them in.
Hmm. Okay. So how was working in Unity on that project differ from what you do with working in Unity for VRChat? Are those some of the process similar, or is the two very different worlds?
It's very different because in the other one you had to focus on the LOD and the different kind of components to it. It was a different structuring. Compared to VR chat, it's much easier because you just plop down like a floor and then take, let's say, Unity world file and just plop it in and then upload it, right? Of course, set it up and then boom, done. That was literally it. But the other one, you had to do a little more work to
Okay.
put them in.
Okay. So what kind of work would you have to do in order to get them to function, Mask? For those who may not know, like me, I'm very green in terms of the stuff.
Yeah, so the first thing you had to do was literally go into the workshop files and then go into the comments, then finding the specific number structure,
Hmm.
and then finding the Unity file with it, and then uploading that Unity file with all the assets, and then you had to rename the things to make it work. It's kind of similar to making an avatar, because if you change the names of different things, it will just break. It will not just register at all. You could definitely work on it by using Notepad++ to basically change on how the different structures, like how much health,
Hmm.
how much is it made of, is it made out of wood, metal, what kind of stuff like that. And then you just had to go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that a little bit. I do very much appreciate it, Emil. So you said you mentioned that sometimes if you didn't do things right, things would just break or crash. What were some of the breaks or crashes that happened to you, and how did you work through that particular problem?
I had to So I had a drill I made for a very popular map of one of my friends. It's called Ural Mountains. It's based on an actual story in the Ural Mountains in Russia.
Hmm.
So a lot of things had to be kind of aligned. So I was assigned to do a drill for them in one of the caves. And one of the problems that I found was basically the renaming of it was very buggy. And I was like, okay, why is it not registering? So I had to go online and actually talk to some people that knew a little more than what I did, and basically had to structure it correctly. It was a very funky name, but it did work because it needed a specific number. But at the end, it did work.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. It's very much appreciated. So, with with everything you've done so far, what is next for you that you're working on or want to work on? Where do you wish to go?
I have a lot of plans to work on. Right now, I'm working on a new DJ set because I want to go into the DJ scene of what is possible in VR chat. And I absolutely love it because I really like the lighting scene and what you can do with the different aspects of it. And I also have some other things in the making that is still unknown to a lot of people. But hopefully, when it's in a playable state, I am gonna show around to different communities and show it off.
Okay. So, what piqued your interest with the DJ scene in Rave World's Mask?
The one thing that piqued me with the DJ scene was mainly just I've really been a love for having hardstyle and techno. I've always been just listening to that kind of music whenever I've just been working on stuff, and it just stuck with me. It was actually funny enough, my brother actually got me into the whole hardstyle scene and all that, and since then I've always kept it close because it just like the different kind of styles that you could have done with the different music. Like you could have mixed something, let's say rock, right, with the hard style and actually make it work together. And when it comes to the worlds, the way that you could basically bounce the different lights and seeing all the enjoyment in people's faces whenever someone comes on the stage and basically just plays music and just see the whole crowd cheering for it. It fills me with joy that people are happy for the different environments that is being created.
Okay. Now, within Vrchat, wanting to bring that in here, what made you want to bring your love of hardstyle and techno into a world, as you said, you want to play with the lights and stuff of that nature? What made you want to shift your gears into doing something like that as your next project?
Making that is hard. Well, I've just always just loved the kind of things you do with it. Really, it's just always been there.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say it. It's just, yeah.
Okay. So, what are some of your fondest memories from Vrchat and or building or anything of that nature? What are some things you cling to from your years here?
Ooh, I definitely remember back in the days, and I still remember to this day. It was something called the Cat Parade. I actually reminded myself of it again because it was just a very fun experience. So it was a bunch of cats with like little instruments just going along in different worlds and just playing music. It was the most fun I've ever had. And when it comes to worlds, I've always liked exploring different things of what people have been working on.
Okay. So, what is the Cat Parade and what makes that one stand out to you?
The Cat Parade was just, it was not similar to the Knuckles, but kind of ish. It was basically a bunch of small little cute cats with like different drums and like instruments, and they were just like going around. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, it's a cat parade!" And they would just roam around in the world until they stop and go through a whole portal, like one at a time.
Oh, well, thank you for explaining. I think I remember you showing us the exact Cat Parade. If did you take part in it?
I sadly did not because I was very scared at the time back then to even talk to people. But as I basically got more into the game, I started talking a bit more.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then after that, it was kind of too late to get into them. But yeah.
Hmm. So Vrchat helped you come out of your shell to become more sociable, may I ask? Were there some people that
Yeah,
helped nudge you along or become more comfortable in speaking with others?
yeah. So Vrchat basically made me more comfortable actually talking to a lot more people, even in real life. I actually very recently started talking to some of my coworkers about hanging out with them. Normally, I wouldn't dare doing that, but because of Vrchat, I actually dared doing something that was spectacular, really.
Hmm. Wow. I'm glad Vrchat's able to help you grow in that kind of nature. That's actually pretty impressive. Congratulations, by the way. Well, to be honest, after talking to you so far, I could have never have told. I couldn't tell that you were hard to socialize.
Yeah, it was mainly because of how I was. A lot of people thought it was a bit weird at first, but when they first got to know me, then they was like, he's actually a pretty cool dude. So then they started talking to me more, and then I socialized quite a lot. And here I am now talking to a bunch of creators, and I'm very happy for where I stand.
Wow. So, looking back at all the history you've shared with us so far, did you ever expect to be on this kind of journey in Vrchat once you put on the VR headset? One would say.
No, I had never expected this journey that I really have right now. And even one of the most special things I will say is to my parents for supporting me in what I'm basically doing right now. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Aw, that's pretty awesome that
They
your
helped
parents are
me through a
supporting
lot.
you.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for it.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I'm very glad that they're able to support you like that. Um, hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
VRChat.
it's
Sorry,
it's amazing.
it is very amazing. VRChat is, from what I've, for all the conversations I've had with people, is quite the journey. Almost always, people come in with either some notion or just want to kill some time or have some fun because of a meme. But VRChat always ends up taking them on a journey of sorts, and where they end up is never, you never really tell. Like, for
There's
example,
never a stop.
it's quite interesting as VRChat grows, so does its user base as well, and it's honestly very beautiful in that sense. Even look at your story; you came in VRChat, and then you started making friends, became a lot more sociable, building worlds, and now you're working with a giant music festival group here in VRChat. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's quite amazing. And definitely, I have a lot more in the working that I really want to show. And I am working on trying to show more people what my potential can basically be working with different people.
Oh, well, I for one am excited to see what you do in and to see your potential grow. I'm gonna be honest, I'm invested in your time, and I'd like to see where you go.
Yeah.
Oh, well, with that said, we can ask the last couple of questions before we start wrapping up. First of which is your name in VRChat. Where did you get it, and why do you still use it?
Why I still use VR chat?
Well, the name in
The
VRChat.
main reason why. Oh, my group.
Your screen name, your VRChat name. You know, like Lion Turtle, Emil.
Oh,
Where did it come from, and why do you use it?
yeah. I think the main reason why my name is how it is because I had a Twitch channel where I basically started streaming a couple of years ago and thought, okay, how can I make these connect together? So I made it my actual name. of the meal, basically.
Ah, okay. And what makes you still want to use that as a name here in VRChat?
Because a lot of people do whenever I go into different things, they always recognize me by my name.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the reason why I'm kind of stuck with it.
Oh. And the avatar you have in VRChat, why do you use it? And is there anything about it that
Uh,
means anything to you?
so basically, it's made by my friend Nimblewave, a really awesome creator that I've just talked to quite a while. He makes some amazing stuff over at Gumroad and all that. And the reason why I'm using it is because I've always had it difficult making avatars. So I've not really had the time to do it. Plus, this one is basically Quest compatible,
Hmm.
so everyone could see me. And nowadays, a lot of people do recognize me for having this cute avatar. So I kind of don't want to switch it, but at the same time, if I do get the time to do it, I am gonna work on another model.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I also know you from that as that avatar as well. I was always curious as why'd you use it? Where'd you get it from? And so thank you for explaining that. It's if I saw you say anything else, it'd be hard to adjust.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, with that said, where if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out and find you or buy some of the stuff you have available, where can they go to find you or your work?
So they can find me on my LinkedIn, Emilhauge, right? My username. They can find me on Booth, Jinx, and Gumroad. And also, if they like to have a bigger, like structural world, they can reach out to my business email, and I can contact them through there.
Okay. All
I
of
also do have a Discord.
ooh. Well, all of that, all of Emil's links here will be in the description for you, the audience member, to find and go through as you please. If you're on YouTube, if you go down a little bit down that way, you'll see a description and then hit show more. There's a group down there called guest links, and everything will be right there for you to find to click as well. If you're anywhere else but YouTube, then it'll be over in the episode description. Same place, same layout, same setup. It's somewhere different for you on Spotify or yeah. And with that said, this is the point where we ask you, the audience member, a question. What is some meme or piece of media you remember from years ago? Emil mentioned something he remembers, which is the cat parade. I'd like to hear yours. One of the ones that stick with me is an old seal meme from a long time ago, a couple decades ago. It's just a seal in a pool spinning, and a simple song plays. There's like 10-hour edits of it and everything. It's gets in my head all the time. I'd like to hear yours. With that said, no matter what you do in VR or real life or whatever you set out to do, don't be afraid to show people. Don't be afraid to work on things. To be quite honest with you, the journey is half the fun most of the time, and it's how you get to the end goal. Failure is only a part of the process. Get up, keep on moving. See you in the VR, see you in the metaverse, folks. Hello, I'm actually here to interrupt the episode you're watching really quick to ask you a favor. Please come join us at any of the other locations we have. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, both of which we post our episodes and are very up to date on both. We have Discord where you go to hang out all the time, where you're gaming and shooting the breeze over with many people over that way. Feel free to come join us. I invite you. If you wish to support us, we have a Patreon where we post a bunch of random bits, bobs, and extra podcasts every once in a while for you to go enjoy. Also, if you wish to support us while in VRChat, we're now part of the creator economy. So please come join if you wish to support us there. It's there for you to choose if you so wish. And thank you very much. And a special thanks to some of the people who have signed up on our Patreon, which are as follows. And I have written down so I'll remember. And that's a tough thing. Forbidden Zero, Niche, Aliquum, Future Oracle, Lesser Capybara, and Frozen. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Meow. 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 This is not as easy as it looks without making it. Meow. 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 Beep beep. Mom, I forgot to get my flyer license. Yeah. My helicopter's in the ditch. Whoa, big hole. Whoa. Beep beep.